Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are in 18th chapter of Gyaneshwari and we are doing the 1580 OV. 81st we have to start. And what happened before in the last 5 OVs? Hearing the words of Arjuna, where Arjuna said, I will do whatever you say, I am surrendered, I am your disciple, everything, all my delusion is over, has been cut asunder. Now, and then praising the Lord, he says, I have found my Guru and my Ishvara in front of me, and I am so blessed and grateful, etc., etc. And eventually he says that because you are none other than Brahman, and because of your words, all the confusions and doubts and crisis is over, and I am able to I have been blessed with the vision of oneness all around. This can only happen through satsang. Now satsang can happen outside, but if this satsang is not internalized, then you have lost the plot. It's a continuous. What you cannot talk to yourself, the teacher talks for you and he also doesn't know what to talk, like me. So we take the scriptures and we talk. So, but it has to be internalized, subjectivized. We have to be subjective in our approach. And and when he says that you and me, and you bestowed upon me the sweet joy of serving you, O God of gods, I shall do whatever you command me to do. Very rare a teacher comes across a student who is so fully 100% surrendered. Otherwise, there is always what is in it for me, or why the teacher is favoring that student and not me. Why is the teacher behaving like this and not? Are these the qualities of a teacher? How can the teacher get angry with the student? But the teacher himself says, "Don't get angry," and he is getting angry. The judgment goes on and on. The student, he has to stop the judgmental thinking. He has to stop assessing the teacher. He has to surrender to the teacher. And while surrendering, he has to perfect himself to where the teacher is established. And that has happened in Arjuna by the grace of the words of the Bhagavad Gita through the mouth of teacher Krishna. And the teacher Krishna, when he hears Arjuna saying that I am ready to do your bidding, Bhagwan is not going to tell him, do this, do that. He says, you fight your fight, man. You are intelligent enough. Where it is required, I will interfere if I have to, or guide you. But don't, which arrow should I take to shoot? Which missile should I take to shoot? Now, who should I fight? Nothing. You have to fight your battles. If a teacher is sitting next to you, or a driving instructor is sitting next to you, every moment you cannot ask, should I turn right? Should I overtake from the left? Should I have to press a brake? He will go mad. He will have an accident. Not like that. You have to drive. Where it is required, the instructor will instruct you that, hey, beware, take care. And same thing here. But Krishna, Bhagwan is so happy that here is one instrument who has become empty for me to function through. And therefore, hearing these words of Arjuna, the Lord danced madly with joy and said to himself, teacher is also continuously waiting for one worthy student. Only one is enough. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he had one student in Vivekananda. Many students were there. Many studied from him. Many learned from him. Many got initiated by him. But one came with arrogance. Have you seen God? And became Vivekananda. Huh? See, similarly, our Mahavatar Baba, he had Lahiri Mahashay. Then we have Papa Ramdas, he had the Satchidanand Swami. Similarly, there's many Mahatmas are there who wait for that one. So here Krishna Bhagwan, the Bhagwan is very happy, and he said to himself, he's not telling Arjun, he's saying to himself, I have sourced in Arjuna the best of all the fruits in the world. See, from Krishna, Bhagwan's point of view, the world is a game of him playing with himself. Don't forget, from Bhagwan's point of view, he himself is the world, he himself is all the beings in the world, he is himself the Pandavas and the Kauravas, he is himself the good people and the bad people, and he is himself the war. All actions that are taking place within the world is also him alone. Even though he has not done anything, yet everything is taking place. Why? Because Bhagwan is Sakshi, he is undisturbed, he is uninfluenced by what he is expressing, because everything is included in him. So how can he have an objective experience of the whole thing? So Bhagwan, so in that entire play of the world, which is none other than Bhagwan himself, just like the one light alone becomes the seven colors, the rainbow colors. One gold alone becomes the various ornaments. One water alone plays with itself and becomes the various waves and tides and etc. So if is there an individuality in Bhagwan? Is there an individuality in Bhagwan? No, there is no individuality, because he is not attached to the body. He is not attached to the total form also. See? So there is no karma for him. But all those individuals who are his expressions only, but because they have not realized, so they are doing karma within. So he alone is expressing through everyone. He alone. But those fellows have forgotten who they are, and they are performing the karma. Every karma will give some karma phala. It will give a fruit. He says, I have secured in Arjuna the best of all the fruits in the world. In everything that I have manifested as this world, the best fruit is Arjuna. For Ramakrishna, the best fruit was Vivekananda. The best, here we can't use the word disciple. Here the fruit is because he could give the Bhagavad Gita, here is one person who has so many. Bhishmacharya was there, Dronacharya was there, so many Rishi Munis were there. They are all locked in their position. All of them are. And some of them, Dronacharya, by choice he was locked and he felt he was indebted to the Kauravas, the baddies. The grandfather who was having Ichha Mrityu, that he could give up his life when he wants. He had by choice tethered himself to the throne, that I'll serve this throne. Again, throne is an object. You should not be serving a throne, you should be serving the person on the throne. Now he made a vow of serving the throne. Blind king came and sat, now he has to serve him. And he can't, he is not, he has committed, he is a person who has taken a vow, he will live up till death. So this is what is, he knows the truth of Krishna, but he is unable to give up his vow to surrender to Krishna. Dronacharya knows the truth of Krishna, but he is unable to give up the indebtedness towards the kingdom, which has given him the wealth and goodies in life. Sometimes if people give too much donation, we become indebted to those people. And they start commanding you. And that we saw in Dronacharya and Bhishmacharya's life, how Duryodhana tell them, you sit down, you have to just serve the throne. You don't tell me what I have to do, I am the crown prince. In these words, he speaks to the elders and the teacher. So this is what happens. And so even though they were knowing the truth of Krishna, they could not make to ego. It is ego. That I have taken a vow. How can I give up my vow? This is against my principles. And Arjuna's rule was, he never used to leave his bow on the ground. He had taken a vow. But yet, in the middle of the battlefield, the bow has slipped from his hand because of the crisis and it is lying on the floor. He's not beating himself up, he's already beaten up. Instead, he surrenders. Instead, he looks for guidance in the Bhagwan. So such people, such students, such devotees are rare to come by. So Bhagwan is very, very happy, and he says, I have got the best of fruits in the form of Arjuna in this world. Does not the milky sea forget its limits and overflow after seeing its sun? Doesn't the milky sea forget? Which is the sun? The moon. So just as slowly the moon it was a no moon, and slowly the moon kept growing and growing and growing. After 15-16 days it is full moon, and now the ocean is very happy to see the brightness of the moon. He has been witnessing the growth. Same way Bhagwan has also been witnessing the unfoldment of Arjuna. And he is very happy to see the unfoldment reach the required conclusion, which is surrender and absence of ego and gratefulness. This is not one event in our life. It must happen every moment. We must be aware of that, hey man, thank you very much. I am alive today. Thank you for another satsang. Thank you for everything, for the next breath that is coming. We must have the gratitude. Yeah, it's a disposition. So, does not the milky sea forget the limits and overflow after seeing its sun, the full moon, complete in all its phases? Sanjaya was transported with joy seeing the union of Arjuna with Lord Krishna on the altar in the form of dialogue. Overflowing with that joy, Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, "Oh, what luck! The merciful Vyasa has protected us in this war. You are now blessed with the vision of knowledge, although you lack the physical sight to deal with worldly affairs." I already explained, I think, that the Ved Vyasji came before the war began and he said, "Oh, Dhritarashtra, you may be physically blind, but I'll give you divine vision. You will see what decisions you have taken and you will see the destruction that is taking place because of your decisions and your attachment." He says, "No, I don't want to see anything." Then Ved Vyas knows this fellow is very stubborn. So he gives the divine vision to Sanjaya, his charioteer, knowing that somewhere along the way, as the war is progressing, this blind king is going to ask Sanjaya what happened. And for 10 days, the blind king did not ask that question. Because he was resting on the prowess of the grandfather who had the capacity to give up his life when he wants. And he knows that he is not going to give up his life. He was confident that he is not going to give up his life. And he said so. I will do my best. But before the war began, Duryodhana insulted the grandfather. The Duryodhana insulted the teacher Guru Maharaj, the Dronacharya. And he fought. But this fellow, the crown prince, he was not happy with the performance. He says, kill more. He says, you are purposely not killing and capturing the Pandavas. He says, they are not, anyone for me to capture. They are great warriors in their own right. I may be good, but I am not as good as Arjuna. He said that. And he just, in that frustration after a few days, he says, every day I'll kill till 10,000 soldiers. 10,000 of the enemy. And he did that. But on the 10th day, the grandfather is lying on the bed of arrows organized by Arjuna. Suddenly, the trajectory of the war has changed. Someone who was invincible, who had the Ichamrityu, is lying on the ground. Dhritarashtra knows that this is impossible. How is it possible that Dhritarashtra is lying on the floor, lying on the ground? Why did he give up his life? Why this has happened? Another few days, if it had continued like this, the war would be over. We would be winning. With this thought, he had agreed to the war because he has this invincible fellow on his side. And now on the 10th day, he asks the question. And Sanjaya tells him the whole story. Till now, whatever we have said is told by Sanjay to the blind king. And here, Sanjay, because he is the charioteer's job is to guide the owner of the chariot, to take him to the correct destination, so that to guide him so that he doesn't make a mistake along the way, to protect him from whatever onslaught is coming, deftly moving the chariot. So not only the physical chariot, but also the life chariot. So here Sanjay is guiding the king. He says what? Oh, what luck, the merciful Vyasa has protected us in this war. Why? He gave the divine vision so that we could see, because he was feeling so blessed that he was able to hear the Bhagavad Gita, and the king could not. But now, through the mouth of the Sanjay, the blind king is also able to hear. And he says, now blessed with the vision of knowledge, you may be blind by your physical eyes, but now your eye of knowledge must have opened up after hearing the Bhagavad Gita. It was still not too late to stop the war. But see, ego, vinasha kale viparita buddhi. Say, when the time has come, you cannot think straight. And that is what is happening to him. Although you lack the physical sight to deal with worldly affairs, even though you lack sight, so he's making a blanket statement that you have got no capacity to deal with the worldly affairs. You are only making decisions based on attachment to your son. At least after hearing this Bhagavad Gita, take correct decision. What happens after that? आजितु मते अवधारा नाही चर्म चक्षु हि संसारा की ज्ञान दृष्टि व्यवहारा आणिलेती आणि रथींची ये राहाटी घेई जो घोडे यासाठी तया आम्हा या गोष्टी गोचरा होती वरी झुंजाचे निर्वाण मांडले असे दारुण दोही हारी आपण हार पिजे जैसे ये वडाजिये सांकडा कैसा अनुग्रहो पै गाढा जे ब्रह्मानंदू उघडा भोगवी तसे ऐसे संजय बोलिला परिन द्रवे येरु उगला चंद्र किरणी शिवतला पाषाणू जैसा हे देखो नितयाची दशा मग करीची ना सरिसा परी सुखे झाला पिसा बोलतसे भुलविला हर्ष वेगे म्हणूनी धृतराष्ट्रा सांगे येरवी नव्हे तया जोगे He Kir Zane. He says, where are we? I, whose profession is to yoke the horse to the chariot and drive it, got this. He is telling. Who? Sanjay. He says, I, whose profession, he was a charioteer. Charioteers they were looked down upon. They are just a lowly profession compared to the king. He is very low. So he says, I, whose profession is to yoke the horse to the chariot and drive it, got this opportunity to hear the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. On this dreadful occasion of the war, whichever party is defeated, it will be our loss. Sanjay is able to think this way. It will be our loss. He is for the Pandavas. As much as he loves the Pandavas, that much he loves the blind king and the family of the blind king. For him, it was one family. It's only because two brothers, one brother was Pandu and he had 5 sons, therefore they are called Pandavas. But all of them were from the Kuru Vansh. So this distinction, this animosity began from the Kuru side, from these 100 brothers against the 5 brothers, and it kept on building up because of jealousy. Because how can a blind father's sons, if they are not guided properly, they are also blind. They have become jealous. They want, the kingdom was for all reasons, the kingdom was belonging to the Pancha Pandavas. Because their father died, the blind king, he was the only one elder in the family left, so he was put as a caretaker king. But as a caretaker king, his job is to hand over the kingdom once the children, 5 Pandavas are grown up, to hand it over to Yudhishthir. But instead what he does, he inculcates desire in his son that you are the crown prince of this kingdom because I am the elder. But in those days, the blind, any person who is blind could not be the king. Therefore, the younger brother was made the king. But he had a desire, the blind king had a desire that I should be the king. And my progeny should continue to be the king. This, wherever there is a desire, wherever there is an expectation, it leads to disaster. It leads to anxiety. Disaster eventually comes. Initially anxiety, depression, etc., etc. So what has he cooked within his family because of his desire to remain as the king? If my son becomes the crown prince, I will remain as the king. He is attached to the throne, the blind king, instead of just being a caretaker. So, so on this dreadful occasion of a war, whichever party is defeated, it will be our loss. But even under this difficult situation, the favor of sage Vyasa has made it possible for us to enjoy openly this bliss of Brahman. Sanjay has forgotten the world. Sanjay has forgotten the war. Maybe it's there in the periphery. But he is right now established in the knowledge that the Bhagavad Gita has imparted. Just as Arjuna was listening to the Bhagavad Gita and became clear in his purpose and became surrendered to the Lord, our Sanjay also is finding himself in a similar disposition. He is also very clear. He is also surrendered to the Lord. He says, I have got, by the blessings of sage Vyasa, if this blessings of third eye, activation of third eye, the divine vision was given to blind king, he would not have experienced what he has experienced. But he has. The sage Vyasa did give him the divine vision. And because of that, the blind king did ask him the question. Because of that, the Sanjay did recollect the entire proceedings of the war with his divine vision. Because of that, Sanjay did listen to the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. And the result is he has become totally surrendered to the Lord Himself. See? So, and to enjoy openly this, for us to enjoy openly this bliss of Brahman, Sanjay is established in the truth. So he also saw, no? He also heard. And as he is this whole Bhagavad Gita was repeated by Sanjay to Arjun, to Dhritarashtra, the blind king. So Dhritarashtra is also listening, but he is not surrendered. He's not got the clarity. He's not got the ability to understand what is being told. See, when you are so attached, we are not talking only about your children. When you are so attached and living at I am the body only, as much as a great knowledge can be presented to you, but because of your attachment to the body, and because of that attachment to the body spreading to attachment to other bodies, it will act as an impediment in realizing the knowledge. Here we are seeing in Dhritarashtra as an example. He may be blind, but he is not stupid. He is a very smart, very intelligent, well-read, well-educated king. Because he did not have eyes, his other faculties are very, very sharp. He is a great administrator. But when it comes to this knowledge, it's always through the eyes of attachment, through the eyes of I want to be the king, through the eyes of the throne should be should be going to my son. Now, are we like that? Are we listening to Bhagavad Gita while sitting in the skin of this leather called body? Or are we surrendered? Like Sanjay, he also has a body, but he's saying, I'm enjoying the bliss of Brahman. Did we hear Dhritarashtra say that? Not one word. The only word he spoke was Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yotsava Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Kurvata Sanjaya. Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. My children and Pandus, what are they doing on the battlefield? That was also not see the crisis. Couldn't even have the greatness or clarity to ask a straight question. Why did the grandfather lying on the ground? Why did he choose to be killed? He's asking, what is happening with my children and Pandu's children on the battlefield? It's a guarded question. See? But they're also my children. As if Pandu are not his children. He's if their father has passed away, automatically the other father's brother, he becomes the caretaker. So, but here, partiality. My children versus Pandu children. And this is practiced in every family. Within the family also. Imagine how you go in different families and how we go in different families. We go in every family, it is our house. It is our children. It is our parents. You go with your children, you will only feed your child. You will only take care of your child. You will only correct your child. You will only give discount to your child. But there are other children in the party. But you will not take care of them. You will not put, okay kids, come on, sit in one queue and I will feed you. How many times have we done that? Or every mother is taking care of only their children. But when we go, if there are children, I make them come in a queue. Youngest first, eldest later. And I feed them. For me, everyone is mine. Get out of this thinking, my children, my children, my children. Otherwise, disaster is looming. And what is the disaster? Even though we hear the scriptures, but because of this skin identification that I am only this body, you may appreciate all the words that are told, but they will not hit the jack. The jackpot, the poise will not come. Poise will not happen. The bullseye will not be hit, if I can use that those words. So that poise, that being available without ownership of anything is the poise. Is the poise. Sanjay was listening like that. Arjuna was listening like that. Are we listening like that? Are we talking like that? Sanjay is also talking to Dhritarashtra. So, as he's seeing the events unfold, he's communicating it to the blind king. But in that communication, he was subjective. That's a lesson for us. While communicating to you all, the speaker has to be subjective. So, Sanjay was a listener as well as the speaker. He was listening to the divine vision that he had because he was recounting the past 10 days events. See? Sanjay said this, but Dhritarashtra sat quiet. Dhritarashtra was not ready, sat quiet, he was dumb. He didn't want to change the course of the war. He didn't want. He was not appreciative of what he has heard. When ignorance covers your mind, when you hear, even if you hear the highest of knowledge, nothing to speak. He still must be calculating, how do I find a way out of this to keep the throne intact for myself. He sat quiet, not appreciative of the knowledge. Just as the rock does not ooze under moonlight, so the speech of Sanjaya had no effect on the heart of Dhritarashtra. No effect. He is like a stone. He is dull. Just like a dull stone cannot reflect the light of the sun. That same stone, if it is polished, refined, it can reflect it, isn't it? He is sitting there dumb, dull, inert. The blindness is not only at the level of his eyes. His blindness has pervaded even his intellect, his being. And as a result, he is just unresponsive. Seeing this condition of his, Sanjay came to know that his talk did not appeal to the king, but mad with great happiness, he began to speak again in ecstasy of joy. But then he knew that the king was not worthy of hearing it. See? The knowledge was transcendental. It was sublime. The Bhagavad Gita is sublime. It is the essence of all the Upanishads. And that educated Dhritarashtra, who is blind with infatuation and attachment to his sons, is not able to become available to this sublime knowledge. And when Sanjay saw that this fellow is not available, maybe I should, with more enthusiasm, if I tell him something, maybe. But when he saw his disposition, just brushing it away, not even showing any interest, no smile, no appreciation. Sanjay thought to himself, he is not worthy of this knowledge. He wanted to help his master. He wanted to help his master, but the master should also be available, no? If he is so arrogant in his own beliefs and convictions, then what to say after that? So here Sanjay continues to revel because he is blind, he can't see what he is doing. So he is not screaming, shouting, but within himself he is mad with joy and mad with joy and great happiness. He wanted to speak again to the king, but seeing his disposition, he decided in ecstasy of joy, but then he knew that the king was not worthy of hearing it. We must not again and again try to convince anyone. You can convince someone who is inquiring, who is feeling the urgency of knowing the truth. A person who is available. If you sit here and class after class after class after class, satsang after satsang after satsang, you keep sleeping. One day I'll say, you better sleep at home, man. Isn't it? Or one side you bring some tea, coffee in the class, no tea, coffee allowed. But you bring it. Once I tell you, second time I tell you, third time I tell you. After some time, I'll have to tell you, please leave the class. Or if while sitting in the class with that disrespect, if you ask a question, I will just overlook. I will not give attention to that person. Understand? These are subtle things. You watch. This knowledge does not come with a comfortable chair and a cup of tea and a pizza on the side. Let's sit in satsang. Or sitting in the bed and with the laptop in your lap and I don't know what you guys are doing with a beer on the side. Liquid spirituality and sublime spirituality going hand in hand. I am living a balanced life. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You can fool others, but you cannot fool the teacher. You can fool others, but you cannot fool yourself. It will come to bite you afterwards. Because you know that it is not right. This is not the required course of disposition required in satsang. One has to be sitting alert, one has to be mentally, physically, intellectually, total alert and vigilant towards the subject matter. Then there is availability. Completely integrated. You have lived your whole day of 20-23 hours with great alertness. Then you come to the satsang, it will make an impact. See, it doesn't happen just because you wish. It doesn't happen. It doesn't click like that. It clicks by His grace. It clicks by Gita's grace. It clicks by Bhagwan's grace. It doesn't click because you wished. And that wishing is also iffy. No, urgency should be there. Then the grace will flow. It will come towards you. Sanjaya Uvacha, this is the 74th verse. Ityaham Vasudevasya Parthasya cha Mahatmanaha. Ityaham Vasudevasya Parthasya cha Mahatmanaha. Samvadamimam Mashrausham Adbhutam Romaharshanam. Samvadam imam Ashrausham Adbhutam Romaharshanam. Together, Sanjaya Uvacha Ityaham Vasudevasya Parthasya cha Mahatmanaha Samvadam imam ashrausham Adbhutam Roma Harshanam. He says in the 74th verse, thus I did. Now because he has concluded telling what happened, because he asked what's happening on the battlefield. Now he has come to the present moment. So he says, thus I did hear this dialogue, marvelous and thrilling, between Vasudeva Krishna and the high-minded Partha. High-minded, straightforward, simple, clear, not complicated thinking. If you can't formulate a question also in one go, then you are not worthy of an answer. Swamiji, I wanted to ask, Swamiji, Swamiji, अरे यार आगे भी तो बोल. No. I was thinking that Atman, what do they say? You don't deserve my attention. Be clear in what you want to know. No. What if all the people in the world became sannyasi? Then how will the life continue? You don't deserve an answer. You don't deserve an answer. Are the other people asking the question? No. Why have you taken the responsibility of asking the question on their behalf? You work out yourself. Once you work out yourself, you will see there is neither war, there is no peace also. They are both coexisting as opposites. So, as we listen to satsang again, these few points that I tell sometimes, which we have learned through experience with our teacher, I am sharing it because that will refine you, that will integrate you, that will make you alert when you are in the class. Not out of fear, but out of respect and gratefulness and how the divine is coming towards you through these words of Bhagavad Gita. He says, Mag manai pe kuru raja, aisa bandhu putra to tuzha, bolila te adhokshaja, god zale, aga purva parasagar, yaya nama sichi sinara, yera aghave te nira, ek jaise, taisa Shri Krishna Partha aise, he anga chipasi dise, mag sambadi ji nase, Kahichi Bhedu. He says, Sanjay said, O king, Lord Krishna was overjoyed to hear what Arjuna said. What did he say? All my delusions are over. You have all the praise that Arjuna bestowed upon Sri Krishna and said that your words have removed all the distinctions and the Brahman is immediately available to me, and therefore I am here to do whatever you say. I am available. So this is what he is saying, that the overjoyed to hear what Arjuna said. The eastern and the western seas bear different names, but their water is the same. Different oceans, different rivers, but water is H2 only. Exactly the same way. In the same way, Lord Krishna and Arjuna are distinct with separate bodies, but this distinction disappeared in their conversation. Is this distinction disappearing in this conversation? Align yourself within. Don't keep objectively hearing. Don't think. Our attention should be, it is that one Lord who is expressing through the teacher. It is that one Lord who is expressing through us. The Lord is playing the game of teacher and student. That is the truth. At the relative level, that is the truth. Because if the whole creation is, the Lord is immanent, in and through the creation, then there is nothing other than the Lord. So student is also through the student also the Lord is expressing, through the teacher also the Lord is expressing. Yesterday's Kathopanishad, just as fire is eminent in all the forms and shapes, the air is eminent through all the fragrances. Inside, it is inside also us and outside also. The fire element is also inside and outside, just as water element is inside and outside the wave. The gold element is inside and outside the ornament. Similarly, as we go subtler and subtler and we come to the space, space accommodates the total creation. It is in and through the creation, but it is still independent of the creation. Even subtler than space is the conscious principle. It is pervading the entire space. If it is pervading the entire space, it is also pervading the air, fire, water, earth and all the combinations. And yet it is independent. Your mind is pervading all the beings in the dream. As breath, as the Panchamahabhut, as the space, air, fire, water, earth, as all the forms, as all the living beings, it is your mind alone is expressing as life in and through everything in the dream. But your mind is independent. That's why it is able to drop the dream and wake up. Isn't it? Catch this. Instead of being attentive of the teacher or being attentive of your understanding, our attention should be on the higher, how this game is being played out. When your thinking is on the higher, your attention is on the higher, this will, suddenly it will just blast and take over your mind. Only once it has to happen. But for that, your your availability to that higher has to be there. Single pointedly. Contemplation I am doing on your behalf. Bhagavad Gita is doing on your behalf. But you remain attentive of that one who is all pervasive. See? Lord Krishna and Arjuna are distinct with separate bodies, but this distinction disappeared in their conversation. This we also felt when we were doing. It should happen here also, but it has been 8 years that we are doing it. But when we are in a retreat, when we are so focused, just now we did Dakshinamurti, continuously 4, 5 lectures every day, your mind is just seeped in that, in those ideas, in those contemplations, and everything stops. We forget the time, we forget where we are, we forget that we have to eat food, we forget we are comfortable or uncomfortable, we forget that we are in that position for last 1 hour. We forget everything. This, you all have experienced it. Don't take it, just brush it away. That's the glimpse. Imagine living like that, with that focus, with that abidance, with that clarity, with that fulfillment, 24/7, 365 days a year. It is possible in this lifetime. If two objects brighter than a mirror are placed face to face, they see their respective forms in each other. Huh? When two people or two objects bright as each other are placed, they see their form. He will appreciate it. He will appreciate. You don't need words. He sees that this fellow is bright. The other fellow sees this fellow is bright. The light that is emanating from this one and light emanating from the other one is the same light. But if the other bulb is there and on it some yellow color is there on the bulb or blue color is there, then it will try to remove the color so that it can be of the. Similarly, we have put colors on our consciousness, the light of consciousness that we are. And what is the color? Seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, attachment, anger, greed, jealousy, hypocrisy, arrogance, thinking, past, present, future, individuality, totality. I am only this body, this universe was there before and it will be there after. I am a meaningless creature in this world, in this vast universe. Stupid, you are the source of the universe. Stop thinking that way. But these are the colors that you have unconsciously taken on. Unconsciously. These, even if you, in satsang when you come, or you think of the Lord, all these colors one by one, layer by layer, they are removed. Those who want to force themselves out of these unwanted colors, then they do Hatha Yoga and Kundalini Yoga or Kriya Yoga, boom, 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 engine is going on. Why? Ego is still there. I have to do something. You don't have to do anything. You just be attentive of the divine. You just be attentive of the conscious light, the conscious presence that you are. Just be attentive of it. What would be the vision of the Lord if He is appearing as the teacher also and He is appearing as the student also? What? Try to think that way. You will vanish. You will lose your individuality in that contemplation. But you will lose yourself only if you are accepting that there is only one which is expressing as two. If you doubt that one, as the conscious principle, if you doubt that one as Krishna, if you doubt that one alone is expressing in this whole creation, then it will never happen. If you doubt that one, if you doubt the higher principle or the conscious principle, then it will not happen. Then you will come to the void. There is nothing. Okay, वापिस आ जाओ. That's it. Continuing. What's the time? पै दर्पणाहूनि चोखे दोन्ही होती सन्मुखे तेथ येरी येर देखे आपण पे जैसे तैसा देवेसी पंडुसुत सुतु आपण पे देवी देखतु पांडवेसी देखे अनंतु आपण पे पार्थी देव देवो भक्ता लागी जिये विवरूनी देखे आंगी ये रूतिये चे ही भागी दोन्ही देखे आणिक काहीच नाही म्हणाहुनी करीती काई दोघे एकपणे पाही नांदताती आता भेदू जरी मोडे तरी प्रश्नोत्तर का घडे ना भेदूची तरी जोडे संवाद सुख का. He says, in the same way Arjuna saw in the Lord himself as well as Sri Krishna. See what is happening now? The whole experience, instead of becoming objective, is becoming subjective. Arjuna saw in himself not only himself but also the Lord. Meaning the self is appearing as Arjuna and Krishna. Just as the conscious principle expresses as the subject and the object. Only then thought can appear, isn't it? So what is the subject here? Krishna. What is the object here? Arjuna. See? And there's drama going on. Just like if there is a conversation going on in your dream, your mind alone has become the teacher in the dream and the student in the dream. This is also waking dream. Here also self alone. But when we say the self, don't think self only, self is myself. But if he's saying that it is his self which is the teacher and the student, then where will myself go? That means you are not accepted. Self is infinite in nature. You are still thinking of self inside the body. It is ananta. It is infinite. It is all pervasive. It is one without a second. So we are not talking about the self. You may catch it within you, or you may focus on it within you, if it helps. But by nature it is not, it has got no center anywhere. Space has got no center anywhere, it is everywhere. Even more pervasive than the space is the self, the conscious principle. So if it has got no center anywhere, any one location, then where is its center? Everywhere. Then it has got center. If it has got no particular center, then it has got center everywhere. If you keep thinking that atman inside, so which means we are still a journey to traverse. I'm not saying stop that, but must come to understand, even while listening, that self is everywhere. It has got no center. When you look for it inside the body, you are looking for some center. It is helpful in the beginning stages of contemplation. It is helpful. But once required focus is achieved, then move to who is that who is appearing as the student and the teacher. So that the location is given only initial stages to develop focus and concentration, single-pointedness. But when that single-pointedness is brought to that which cannot be pointed out, single-pointedness, isn't it? Now there is no point to look at for the single-pointedness. It is given a thought, you are the Atma. Oh, I am the Atma, I am the Atma, I am the self. Where? No point. It disperses, it becomes everything. It becomes all. It realizes its pervasiveness. Because in that single-pointedness, thinking stops. Provided your point of focus was something great, something infinite, something all-pervasive. But you're thinking of that all-pervasive through the word called Atma, through the word called all-pervasive. Word all-pervasive, it's limited. How can limited word give you all-pervasiveness? What it indicates? What it is indicating is beyond the word. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. See? But we have to bring ourselves to that point of focus, to that point of single-pointedness, where we build up the stamina to contemplate that which is, or become available to that which is beyond word and beyond mind, and yet is supporting the word and supporting the mind, not just your mind and your word, but everything. There's no straight answer for it. So here he says that Arjuna saw the Lord in the Lord himself as well as Sri Krishna. Arjuna saw in the Lord, not in himself, he saw in the Lord. So now what has happened to his mind? Instead of Arjuna's mind, it has merged into the mind of the Lord. It has expanded to be the universal mind. Only in that universal mind he can see Krishna and Arjuna, no? This is what happens. In the presence of a magnet, iron nail also becomes magnetized. It also starts exhibiting the magnetic qualities if it stays for a long period with it, or the required period with the mother magnet. Arjuna has stayed with Krishna, the infinite magnet, for 700 verses, and that too subjectively, with surrender, with the readiness to change himself, to come out of the crisis that he finds himself in. Something has to happen. It cannot just be. Arjuna is not Dhritarashtra. He's not an inert. He's not a stone-like. He's not dull. See? So every satsang must bring, you can't pinpoint, but it must transform us. It must transform. We must be able to look back. We don't have to look back. We don't suggest that. But our expansion must happen as a result of the satsang. Every satsang is expanding us. Every satsang is making us to be greater than what we were yesterday. It must happen. Somewhere it must happen. See? And in that expansion, one day, you will also get this. You will also say, you will also feel that just as Arjuna is seeing in the Lord himself and the Lord, you will also see that this whole game is going on. Maybe we have had the glimpses sometimes, but it is not we are not able to stick to it. It just comes and goes away. We want to abide in that continuously. So here, Arjuna saw in the Lord himself as well as Sri Krishna. Simultaneously, Sri Krishna saw himself as well as Arjuna in Partha. So both are parasparam bhavayantaha. Both are feeling the same. This light is also emitting light. This bulb is also emitting light. Both are seeing in that light. One light says, I am seeing my bulb, I am the bulb, and I am seeing the other one also. The other one is also feeling the same way. Just like all the gopis and Krishna in the Ras Leela. When you go through the Ras Leela stages, first Krishna is in the middle and all the gopis are dancing around him. So one light and all, one atma or one self and all thoughts dancing around the thought of the divine. And as the crescendo increases on that full moon night of the Sharad Purnima, the Ras Leela, and as the crescendo increases, as the dance, all the gopis are looking at Krishna only. And Krishna, they feel one Krishna is looking at all of them all the time. Initially, they were looking at him. Krishna knows he is looking at them from all the time. But they realize, when they realize, the thoughts realize that Krishna is not objective. He is very close to us. Immediately the dance changes into one Krishna between two gopis. So that means the thought is there, second thought is there, and in between Krishna is there. It's not emptiness. It is not void. It is not nothingness. It is consciousness. What do you say it is in between? Space. But who knows the space? I. Because of whom is the I thought appearing? That is the truth. So that is pervading. But you have programmed yourself to say that it is nothing. Catch this knot in the finger in your thought. So when you chant Om or any mantra, this is where you come to. That is why the chanting of the mantra is one of the ways. So as these gopis realize, that the love in their heart, the availability of theirs to Krishna reaches a certain crescendo or critical moment, suddenly that Krishna who was in the middle is as if transported. He's only one for them when he came. Now they find between every two gopis there is one Krishna. And as now, before all of them were looking at one, now between the two there is one. Now more love, more surrender. Now they can touch, they can feel, they can dance. Before he was being shared by all the gopis, now only two are sharing one. Even more love. And sometimes he's giving her attention, sometimes he's giving her attention, both sides. They are not feeling left out, and their love for him increases even further. Then what is the third stage? One gopi, one Krishna. One gopi, one Krishna. So every gopi has one Krishna for her own, herself. Because without consciousness, even thought cannot appear. We say it is I, but it is actually the infinite truth, which is alone expressing as the subject and object. And as this crescendo, this infinite attraction towards the infinite reaches a new height between Krishna and Gopi, one Krishna, one Gopi, it reaches such a height that sometimes Krishna becomes Gopi and Gopi becomes Krishna. They change their form because Krishna is completely surrendered to the Gopi, and Gopi is completely surrendered to Krishna. Krishna is always surrendered. Krishna doesn't, he knows everything is me alone. But Gopi has surrendered. But the sport is going on, dance is going on. So sometimes the teacher and student, sometimes you are the teacher, I am the student. Because I am also learning while I am teaching. See? So this is the crescendo. At the relative level, this is the height of experience. After that, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Maya Jagat. Everything is Krishna. Your eyes are seeing the form of the tree, but internally, it is nothing but Krishna. It is nothing but consciousness. Eyes are seeing the cows, the dog, the hen, etc. But attention is, everything is Krishna. Not only the form is Krishna, not only the elements that are gone into making the form is Krishna, but also the life that is expressing through it is Krishna. This is what we saw yesterday in Isha Kathopanishad, and that thought is being expressed here by Arjuna in just 2 lines. How beautiful! See, now you take this text and you read this. In the same way, Arjuna saw in the Lord himself as well as Sri Krishna. Simultaneously, Sri Krishna saw himself as well as Arjuna and Partha. Could you have understood the way we had just put it? Because where did we come to know? From our teachers. So never try to study scriptures on your own. Always listen. Always. While listening, after listening, you can study. But never start a text by studying yourself. First listen. Then you take it for further study. When the Lord was thinking of his devotee, he saw the form of the devotee as in his own form. Since all distinctions between the two disappeared, they became identified with each other. Since the distinctions between the two vanished, how can there be any questioning between the two, and how can there be any pleasure from their conversation? In one without a second, there can be no conversation. It is one. How can there be conversation between gold and gold? Cannot be possible. But when that gold takes a position, I am the anklet, and the other gold, I am the necklace. I am higher than you. You are under 2 feet, only collecting dust. Why? Identified with form. This is what we are. You are higher, I am lower, I am rich, you are poor, I am intelligent, you are stupid, I am man, you are woman. Get out of all distinctions. It's not worth it. It's not serving you in any way. Instead, think of these type of thoughts. And if all the time you cannot think of these thoughts, take the name of the Lord. Make your mind focused. Again, come back to these thoughts or to the satsangs. Slowly unfoldment will happen. So where's the question of pleasure from their conversation? Who is saying this? Sanjay is saying. So you imagine the disposition of Sanjay. He is also come to the disposition of one without a second principle. He is seeing the oneness between Krishna and Arjuna. Meaning, he is seeing the oneness between him and everything. He has come to that stature, to that poise. He is not just a mere charioteer now. He has become divine. The divinity is expressing in and through him fully. Because this vision is not a normal vision. Sanjay cannot speak these words if he is not realizing it. See? When they were conversing with each other in the plane of duality, I heard that conversation which ended with the loss of their distinctions. And loss of the distinctions was where Krishna said, I have found a worthy student in me, I have found someone available, and therefore the love is pouring out. I have given you everything, but I feel like giving you more. And that entire Bhagavad Gita, he gives it in a concise form. Then his love is even more pouring. From that he comes to one verse. And Arjuna, and then after having given him everything, he says that I have given you everything. Has your delusion gone or not? So Arjuna is also reciprocating. Swamiji sent me to one Mahatma in Girnar. I don't know if he's still there or not. I think he left his body. Is Maharishi Punitachari ji. And this is in 2002-3. And he said, go. I told him, you come. Remember, sometimes I told you I left from Varanasi, and the moment I got into the auto, this mantra started in my head. Hari Om Tat Sat Jai Guru Datta. And for next 3 days, it had overtaken my mind. I couldn't think of anything but that mantra. And when I reached that ashram, outside on top of the gate, it is written, Hari Om Tat Sat Jai Guru Datta. And Swamiji is sitting on the chair. I had never seen him. He looked like another worker. So I came. Namaskar. आ गए. मैंने कहा, I have come to meet. I am only that. I have come to meet him. I am only that. He looked very ordinary. I didn't know how he looked or not looked. Anyway, he says, what do you want? I said, I want Atma Sakshatkar. I want to abide in the self. So he says, get up in the morning. 3 o'clock you can get up. I said, yes. 3 o'clock you get up. 4 o'clock you come to this temple. And for 9 days, I was there with him for 9 days, he will put his hand on my head and keep chanting for 10 minutes. And I was supposed to chant Hari Om Tat Sat Jai Guru Datta, keeping my spine straight, sitting in cross-leg position. And then somewhere along that 10 minutes, I will vanish. I will get up after half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever. And he says, after 9 days, he says, now I have given you whatever I have to give. Now it's up to you to unfold it. Meaning, you get out of the way. Unfold means you get out of the way. Yeah. See? heard that conversation which ended with the loss of their distinctions. So both are completely at one ment with each other. When we are at one ment with each other, then no words are required. Merely a look, you can make out what the teacher wants, or by merely a look, the teacher knows what the student wants. Merely look. Now, you don't walk around behind a teacher. Asha, let me think this question. If he is in tune with me, he will come to know what I am thinking. You are already not available because you are thinking with ego. You are trying to test the teacher out. Your individuality is fully present. How can the synchronization take place? You have to vanish. In spite of that question, you have to vanish. This I have experienced with Swamiji many times. See, one day he was walking and he had told me when he is leaving his body. Date or year. I had forgotten. That day I forgot. What can I do? So I am walking behind him and I am thinking, when is he going to... Stupid question, no? But I'm thinking like that. I can't ask him that question. How can I say, Swamiji, when are you going to leave your body? Why are you waiting? Stupid it is, it? But suddenly Swamiji turned around. He said, did I tell you this? I said, you did, but I forgot. I have to be genuine. He said, Acha, how does it matter? All it is a game. I said, yes, that is a game. Then Swamiji, why did you tell me? I don't know. See? Like this. Sometimes you are thinking of a question and you know if you're not expecting anything, you're not rejecting anything, answer comes. At that very moment you will start some talk, some satsang while walking, and it's exactly what you want to hear. See? And if, now in the one, we'll just conclude, where are we? 1597. 1597. उटूनी दोन्ही आरिसे वोडविली या सरिसे कोण कोणा पाहतसे कल्पावे पा का दीपा सन्मुखू ठेवलिया दीपकू कोण कोणा आर्थिकू कोण जाणे नाना अर्का पुढे अर्कू उदयलिया अणिकू कोण म्हणे प्रकाशकू प्रकाश्य कवण हे निर्धारू जाता पुढे निर्धारासी ठक पडे ते दोघे झाले एवढे संवादे सरिसे. He says, if two mirrors are placed before each other, how can we say which saw which? Because both are reflecting each other. We are talking about mirrors, not light now. Both are reflecting each other. How can we say which saw which? Or if the two lamps are kept one in front of the other, who can say which borrowed whose light? They totally merged into each other, the light. If another sun rises in the sky, who can say which one gives light and which one is lit? If sun and moon, you can say that the moon is getting the light from the sun. But if two suns are there, there must be some galaxies where there must be two suns. Where are we? When we think about it, all thought comes to a standstill. When we think about one without a second, when we think about how one is alone expressing as the two, as the Arjuna and Krishna, how the self alone is expressing as the subject and object, how the self alone is expressing as the waker and the waking world, dreamer and the dream world, sleeper and the no world. You're not lost in waking, you're not lost in dream, you're not lost in void. You are lost in that one who alone is expressing as the two. In that contemplation of the one, that how in that everything, the duality goes away and you remain as the infinite one. So here he is saying that if when we think about it, all thought comes to a standstill. So we have to think such thoughts which do not become a cause of other thoughts, which do not generate more thoughts. I've given this example many times. If I think of Nagaraj, automatically his children will come, his wife will come, his house will come. Then I'll remember he used to live in that suburb before, now he is here, etc., etc., that he has come to Kailash, blah, blah. One thought Nagaraj has given so many tentacles, so many multiple thoughts have come because of one thought Nagaraj. Whenever we think of any thought of the objective world, it will always lead to some more thoughts. We have to think such a thought which dissolves all the thoughts. One thought at the physical world level is space. Think of space, everything will get dissolved. Make the eye see itself, all the forms will dissolve. Make the ears listen to themselves, all the sounds will dissolve. But we have said this many times. How many of you have tried? Never. Similarly, when the mind tries to look at itself or its own source, it dissolves. And how is it thinking? How is that one appearing as two? What is that principle which is appearing at both places and the game is going on? When we think about it, all thoughts come to a standstill. Both of them had become so engrossed in the conversation. If salt is placed between two currents of water to keep them separate, the salt too becomes water in no time. It's so true. So when we place ourselves between two divinities, we also melt away and be the divinity, isn't it? See, this is the game of the mind. Whatever the mind can become convinced of, whatever the mind can become focused upon, those qualities the mind becomes those qualities. If it thinks of, if the mind keeps the company of thieves, it will become a thief. It will have only thieving thoughts. If the mind is in the company of jealous people, it will exhibit jealousy all the time. If it is in the company of truth, it will start, what will be expressed through it will be the truth. And what truth is, that vision will come. If you think of Ram, then you're straight, you're full of character, ready to fight for the downtrodden, ready to protect the world. Truthful, righteous, valorous, and realized at the same time. Think, if someone is thinking of Shiva, he gets that qualities. What is the word? Don't take shower every day. I don't enjoy wearing clothes, wears animal skin. Why, Shivji doesn't take bath, I will also not take bath. Then what will you do? Oh, he puts on the bhasma, I will also put on the bhasma. The lazy man's God. So, in this manner, just 2 verses more and झी मिळता दोन्ही उदके माझी लवणवारू ठाके की तयासी ही निमिखे तेची होय तैसे श्रीकृष्ण अर्जुन दोन्ही संवादले ते मनी धरिता मज ही वाणी तेची होतसे ऐसे म्हणे ना मोटके तव हिरोनी सात्विके आठवनेला नेणोके संजयपणाचा रोमांच झवक फरके तव तव आंग सुरके स्तंभ स्वेदांते जिके एकला कंपू अद्वयानंद स्पर्शे दिढीर समय झाली असे ते अश्रू नव्हती जैसे धरत्वची नेणो काय नमाय पोटी नेणो काय गुंफे कंठी वागर्था पैत पडत मिठी उससांचिया किंबहुना सात्विका आठा चाचरू मांडता उमेठा संजयो झाला से चोहटा संवाद सुखाचा तया सुखाची ऐसी जाती ते आपणची धरी शांती मग पुढती देह स्मृती लाधली तेणे. He says, I was also reduced to the same state when I was thinking of the conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Sanjay, the charioteer, this is all is going on in his mind. Or maybe he's talking to Dhritarashtra, who is not listening anyway. So he's thinking, I think, to himself. As Sanjay was talking like this, he was so overcome by the sattvic emotions that he lost consciousness of being Sanjay. See? He lost his individuality, he lost his body identification, he lost the identification with time, place and objectivity. Where is he, in front of whom he is? Because in front of the king there is a way to express yourself, but he has forgotten because there is no individuality now. Lost consciousness of being Sanjay, he began to have horripilations on his body. His limbs had wrinkles, his body became still and was covered with sweat and tremor. Some people will say this is the rising of the Kundalini. But this happens many times. Sometimes when suddenly you go into a temple and you see a fantastic idol, or you see a fantastic rainbow, or you see a fantastic wondrous sunrise or sunset, or you suddenly come and a small child comes and gives you a hug with complete as if merging into you. Suddenly the tremors come, the horripilations happen, the hair stand on your end, and you feel completely at one ment with that experience at that moment. And this happens many times. So he says, and tremor, he enjoyed the bliss of the non-dual state, and his eyes shed copious tears of joy. Nay, they were not tears, but the overflow of his heart. So tears are normally for crying. Here he says it's the heart overflowing out of joy. That is. When the tears flow from here, it is joy. When the tears flow from here, it is sorrow. Someone told me, I don't know how much it is true. No, every time you will forget the misery, you will think it is coming from here. You will forget the joy or misery. You will be thinking, अरे कहाँ से आ रहा है? इधर से आ रहा है? I am happy. फिर हंसोगे. मजा. He said, they were not tears, but the overflow of his heart. He could not contain this joy within his heart. His throat became choked. His speech became stiffed through suffocation. Remember, all these signs were exactly the signs of identity crisis in the first chapter. Throat gets choked, horripilation on the skin, body became stiff, no energy in the fingers. All these symptoms were exactly the same as in the crisis. The only thing is, here it is happening due to the feeling of oneness. There it was happening because of crisis. What happened in crisis? He didn't know what is right and what is wrong. Again, zero. So, are these symptoms coming because of total breakdown of personality? Or are these symptoms coming due to fullness of personality? Fullness of the being. Not personality, fullness of being. Collapse being also same, fullness of being also same. See? In short, these 8 sattvic emotions made Sanjay speechless, and he became, as it were, the meeting place of bliss arising from their conversation. So that conversation was happening on the battlefield, but he is experiencing it directly here because he is at one ment with not only Arjuna but also with Krishna. In other words, he is at one ment with the infinite truth, which is appearing as the two or the many. That bliss was such a nature that it calmed his mind and made him conscious of himself. See, such conversation we must expose ourselves to, not the conversation that is going on in Big Boss and this and that and everything on the TV serials. This should be, expose yourself again and again. Every Upanishad is a conversation. Bhagavad Gita is a conversation. Avadhut Gita is a conversation. Tripura Rahasya is a conversation. Every text is a conversation. Meenakshi Panchakam is a conversation. Bhaj Govindam is a conversation. If you want to expose yourself, expose to such conversations which raise your consciousness and bring you to be aware of yourself, to be conscious of yourself, with the recognition that you are the one without a second principle. And this one without a second principle is not through thoughts, it's in spite of thoughts. For that, thoughts don't have to die. They are there, they are not there, it does not matter. You have clutched out from the mind. With this, we conclude today's satsang, and next week, 75th verse will begin with Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Sit quietly for a moment.